Now to our series Race in Chicago. When CPS students switched to online learning last spring, it was a reality check for the district, which had to scramble to get more than 128,000 devices to students. But another issue reared its ugly head. Many students couldn't use them, exposing the disparities between those with the internet and those without. Kate Chappell reports.
So you ought to be ready for when schools start back, right?
Claiborne Wade and his family know all too well.
The struggle can be real.
Raising 4 children on Chicago's west side, at times things have been tough.
Struggling day to day, trying to keep a roof over our head and food on the table.
Which means extra costs like the internet aren't feasible.
What is that? That's a video?
Yeah. The Wades are fortunate. Grandparents have helped supply tablets and laptops. But not all families are as lucky. For instance, Lilia Guevara owns one device for 3 kids who are all learning from home.
A lot of kids were not just doing their work because their parents work.
The reality is the students who were already the most vulnerable to falling behind will now face even more challenges to keep up with their peers. U.S. Census data shows more than 100,000 children across the city don't have access to broadband. And the issue disproportionately affects Chicago's low-income families and people of color. Nearly half of all children in West Englewood don't have access to the internet. And in Austin, where the Wade family lives, just over 1 in 3 households aren't connected.
When you actually look at that by community area, it's incredibly polar.
Kids First Chicago is working to change that, giving parents like Claiborne and Lilia a voice.
It's like we have to fight twice as hard to get the resources that we need.
The pandemic has brought to light a big issue. Access to technology is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Being disconnected right now is a lifeline to everything. No access to health care, no access to employment. No access to your kids' education.
Anello and his team worked with the city of Chicago and Chicago Public Schools on a new program, Chicago Connected. Over 4 years, the $50 million program, funded through private donors and CPS, provides free high-speed internet service to 100,000 students with no restrictive barriers.
We always knew that the reality was that there was a digital divide. What I think the COVID crisis brought home was that maybe the numbers were larger than we thought they were.
Depending where they live, families will receive hotspots or wired access free of charge. But the new service is at times proving difficult to implement.
The trust factor is very important here.
But a lot of people don't trust the system because the digital divide is deep-rooted.
That's been a historic problem in those communities.
Laura Lane has been working to solve the issue for years, serving on statewide committees to identify gaps and get people connected.
A lot of the gaps that we found are just connectivity opportunities.
Lane says the same redlining that impacts the retail and housing markets in disadvantaged neighborhoods also affects infrastructure there.
Just the way we have food deserts, we do have technology deserts. The options are fewer. The service is poorer.
Cost of devices and connectivity and a lack of skills in education are also factors. So is the speed and reliability of service.
Demand on the network is much greater than it was.
Professor Nick Feemster is the director at the Center for Data and Computing at University of Chicago. Much of his work focuses on measuring the performance of the internet, including if the free internet through Chicago Connected will be strong enough.
If the internet is not sufficient to support the applications, then they're probably not going to learn.
Chicago Connected is a first-of-its-kind program and now a model for cities around the country. All agree it's a first step in the right direction toward ending the digital divide, but there's a long way to go.
It really is a utility now, and if we treated it like that, if we attempted to regulate it like that, we would have more accessibility.
Reporting on Chicago's west side, Kate Chappell, NBC 5 News.